Hi there, this is Solitary Ronan from Solitary Ronan Films, and welcome to a random review. Today's random review is Pleasures of the Flesh by Oshima from 1965. Stars Katsu Nakamura as Atsushi, Mariko Kaga as Shoku, Yumika Nogawa as Hitomi. This comes from the Criterion Eclipse DVD set of Oshima's Outlaw 60s. This is Eclipse series number 21. And this also has Violence at Noon, Sing a Song of Sex, Japanese Summer Double Suicide, and 3 Resurrected Drunkards in the set. I'm just going to talk about Pleasures of the Flesh, which came from a story called Pleasures of the Coffin, I believe. This has a lovely setup. A young male tutor of a family whose daughter Shoku he takes a liking to and is in love with. She is sexually assaulted, and the family somehow gives him money to deal with the man who sexually assaulted her, as he keeps turning up, blackmailing the family for more and more money. So Atsushi pushes the man off a train and kills him. So far, so happy families. Then another man turns up with a suitcase, and he claims to know that Atsushi killed this guy, but he's not going to go to the police because he opens the suitcase and there's 30 million yen in it, which this guy has embezzled from his company. And he knows he's going to get caught. He knows, he's estimated he's probably going to get about 5 years in prison. And he's looking for somebody to keep the money, but somebody who's not going to spend it, not going to tell the authorities, because he has the dirt on him, the fact he killed somebody. So far, happy families. The film opens with this long, dreamlike shot of a wedding, and the Shoko character running towards the camera in her wedding dress in slow motion. And then it kind of cuts to the reality of it, still the mid shot. And we see her down the bottom happily being married. And this is from Atsushi's perspective. And throughout the film, his perspective, his line between reality and fantasy is blurred. So he is fairly depressed that Shoko has married this rich guy who is in charge of a fashion business, I think. And he decides he has this money, so he's going to spend it. So far, not happy families. And he decides to spend it. It's now a year left out of the 5-year prison sentence that we assume this guy got. So it's Atsushi decides he's going to spend the money and then kill himself before the year is up. So the guy comes out of prison, can't do anything to him because he'll spend the money and he'll be dead. And the empty suitcase will be his coffin. That's probably where the original title of the story, Pleasures of the Coffin, came from. And I kind of like that title, the idea that suitcase will be your coffin is a nice kind of idea. Obviously, you have to fold yourself up first to fit in it. And because he can't get Shoko, he pretty much goes on this journey where he tries to get all these women and have sex with all these women, and somehow that'll equate to being in love with Shoko. So he starts off paying this woman, he puts her up in a flat and he pays her a monthly rate to pretty much stay with him. But then a Yakuza turns up, claiming that she's his property. He's got a missing finger, so obviously he's Yakuza. And he's carrying a bottle of acid, because that's what you do for somebody you like. You always carry a bottle of acid for them. And then more Yakuza hoodlums turn up, and that kind of relationship escalates. And then he meets a female doctor who's working in a hospital, who's being sexually assaulted by another doctor, and she quits, and he then latches onto her to try and give her money to be with him and have sex with him and fall in love with him. But obviously money can't buy you everything, which is the moral of the story. Obviously it's a very moral film. It kind of is bordering on the pink film 60s genre in Japan, but it never really gets that explicit. You kind of obviously know what's going on with having sex, but it's not really a very explicit film. Obviously it probably caused problems like most of Oshima's 60s films did. And then he latches on to various other women. He latches on to a prostitute, and his pimp has heard the story from prison of this guy who's holding 30 million for somebody, and he wants Atsushi to actually help him find who this guy is and where this guy's from. And that's pretty much as far as I'll go with the plot. It's a beautiful looking film, even if it is just on DVD. Again, you can let me know if it is available on Blu-ray somewhere. The production design is really nice in 60s Japan. The apartments, the modern apartments are very nice. Oshima with use of slow motion and unusual angles. And again, to get into the main character's head, he does use different techniques. He uses kind of that line between the reality and fantasy. Is done really well, where characters will change and shift depending on the main character's perspective as we get into his head, as the kind of pressure builds as we get closer and closer to the release date from the criminal and from the embezzler coming out of jail. Atsushi's manner gets more and more frantic as his obsession with Shoko and trying to mould these women into Shoko kind of increases. And it gets to boiling point, as it were. It's only 91 minutes long. It doesn't need to be any longer. Again, the kind of original setup of the film is done in like the first 15 minutes. It's really economical, and the film zips along very well as we just follow this character and his desperation to make these women into something that they're not, which obviously is a comment on the male persona in general, and obviously it's a comment on money and capitalism, and thinking that money can solve your problems and money can buy you anything, which, as we know, is not the case. So thanks very much for watching. Please let me know if you've seen Oshima's Pleasures of the Flesh, which is a bit more of a lurid title than the film actually is, where you rank it in Oshima's work, and hopefully join me again for more random reviews. This is Solitude Ronin from Solitude Ronin Films, saying cheerio.